Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 111 of Valley Livin. We're here today in Luray Middle School to talk with Harmony Housden about her most recent STAR project with FCCLA. She's a third-year student at FCCLA and did a project this year about a very serious topic, the topic of suicide, that hit home last fall right here at Luray Middle School. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk details about her project, and we'll learn a little bit about what FCCLA is and what it does for our students here in Page County. We'll talk about all of that and more in just a moment after a word from our sponsor. Hawksbill Assisted Living in Luray is now accepting new admissions. Hawksbill Assisted Living, powered by Valley Care Management, offers quality care at affordable rates, professionally trained staff, and veterans aid and attendance. Come visit Hawksbill Assisted Living, located near the beautiful Hawksbill Greenway in Luray. Call for a tour today or learn more at valleycaremanagement.com. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 111 of Page Valley Living. We are filming episode 111 here today at Luray Middle School on Tuesday, March the 31st, and we'll be airing it on Wednesday, April the 1st. Well, first of all, Harmony Housden, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And Harmony is an 8th grade student at Luray Middle School, and she's been in FCCLA for 3 years, and she recently tackled the very, very serious topic of suicide in a recent project she did. We're going to get into the details of that project in our second segment, but we want to talk a little bit about FCCLA here in this first segment. But prior to that, we do want to talk to all of you out there watching. If you know of anyone who is considering harming themselves or others, there is a hotline out there to help. You may have seen purple and white signs throughout the town of Luray and maybe in other parts of the county, where you can dial the suicide hotline at 988. That's 988. That's the suicide hotline, and I believe that was a project of PACA, the Page Alliance for Community Action, and we were going to repeat that number a couple of times throughout this show. So Harmony, let's start out, before we get into your project here that we're going to talk more about, Beat the Winter Blues, we're going to talk about this red jacket and FCCLA. Now, what in the world is FCCLA?
So FCCLA stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, and it is actually 81 years old. It is an organization that encourages members to be career ready in 6 different career paths, and really just expands on all of the things that are taught in Family Consumer Sciences class from 6th to 12th grade.
Now, are you sure you're in 8th grade?
Yes.
You speak very well,
Well, thank you.
for a middle school student. I feel like I'm here interviewing maybe a senior in high school today. But FCCLA, as you just gave us the explanation about it, and we know it's very active all throughout Page County, at Page County High School and Middle School, and Luray High School and Middle School. What attracted you to join this organization?
Well, originally, Family Consumer Science wasn't one of the choices or one of the electives that I chose in 6th grade, but after hearing about all the things that happened in class and about FCCLA, I was really influenced to join the class, and it was just something I fell in love with. I wanted to do everything relating to FCCLA, go on all of the trips that FCCLA took, and it's just been an incredible experience.
That does sound like a great experience. You've been in it now for 3 years. You did it in 6th grade, 7th grade, now in 8th grade. And we're going to talk a little bit later about an award you won last year. And of course, you're probably going to be entering this project this year for an award. What do you feel in 3 years that you have gained or benefited from being a part of this organization?
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot of life skills that often aren't taught in school or specifically in middle school. Things like interacting with adults and public speaking, like putting your work out there for others to see and getting in touch with a community.
Well, that sounds like a lot of very beneficial things that you can carry on throughout life. Now, this project is referred to as a STAR event or a STAR project. Now, what does that mean?
So the STAR and STAR events is students taking action with recognition And it is a project-based activity for members to showcase their community service projects. Now, for this one, it was more of an in-school type thing, but we also reached out to a lot of communal businesses and people who volunteered to come in and help out with some activities. And I came up with the idea first, and then we put it all together for Beat the Winter Blues.
Well, you did work with a number of organizations we'll talk about a little bit in our second segment. You worked with PACA and Steel Valley Fitness, Downtown Studios, and other counselors and teachers. And we're going to, like I said, we'll talk details about your project in the second segment. But I do want to start out by, the topic you've talked about, suicide, is a very difficult issue, even for many adults to talk with, much less young people. What inspired you to tackle something so tough?
So quite recently, in the fall actually, there was a lot of passings in our community that were caused by suicide. One being a 6th grade student who decided to take their own life, and that really got me thinking, do students truly know how to cope and manage their emotions in healthy ways that don't involve hurting themselves or others, and just in more positive ways that benefit themselves?
Now, this is one question we didn't talk about beforehand before we started, but do you remember when you first heard about a student at your school that this affected, the student that had committed suicide? Do you remember how you felt or how it affected you?
Well, I wouldn't say I was best friends with the student, but I had talked to them and I felt like we had some kind of bond. And at first I feel like everybody was kind of like gossiping about it, just like talking. And then it really sunk in that somebody had chose to take their own life. And it was kind of just mind-blowing and eye-opening for myself, and I feel like a lot of other students as well who haven't really been exposed to things like this.
A lot of people, especially adults, almost feel like this is a topic they just don't want to talk about. They just, I won't say necessarily brush it under the rug, but it's so uncomfortable. It is so personal, it is so emotional that it's difficult to talk about it. So what made you think, hey, I can tackle this?
Well, I felt like I had a lot of help from my advisor, Mrs. Burns, and the community, my family, and just a lot of overall support. And, if you want something to change, you can't just wait. You have to put yourself out there, really try. You can't just wait for somebody else to do it. So that's what I decided to do.
That is the definition of students taking action, which I think is what you said, STAR, there stood for. Wow, that is extremely, extremely impressive. And before we close out this first segment, let's make sure we give a shout out to Miss Lindy Burns of Luray Middle School, who is the Family and Consumer Science teacher and the FCCLA advisor, and I'm sure she helped you quite a bit with this.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk more about your project, Beat the Winter Blues, here in the second segment, but I want to take another opportunity, folks, to remind you, if you know of someone out there that's in trouble, needs some help, 988 is the suicide hotline, and there are folks there waiting to help them work through their issues. We're going to come back in just a second and talk about all of the details of Beat the Winter Blues when we return. Whispering Pines Assisted Living is now accepting new admissions. Quality care at affordable rates, professionally trained staff, memory support, and short-term respite stays are all offered by Whispering Pines Assisted Living, powered by Valley Care Management, where home and heart meet. Call for a tour today on Leakesville Road in Luray or learn more at valleycaremanagement.com. Welcome back, everyone, to Page Valley Livin', where today we're tackling a very serious topic, suicide. And we're talking with Harmony Housden, who has done a project through her FCCLA chapter here at Luray Middle School, and it was called Beat the Winter Blues. Tell us a little bit about Beat the Winter Blues.
Well, Beat the Winter Blues is the STAR project that I decided to create in order to go to the state and national conferences for FCCLA, and it dealt directly with students. And I focused on three main things: movement, music, and mindfulness, to teach students in many different ways to manage their emotions and mental health, and healthy ways to deal with them. Now, some of the ways that I reached out to the students and communicated with them was over the announcements. I brought in games during lunch to hopefully just boost the positivity in the room. And I even got a DJ to come in on some Fridays throughout the period of this project to play music during lunch. And from the feedback that I've heard, it had the effect that we were going for.
Very good, very good. And I'm going to refer to, I believe on Friday, March 27th, from 2 to 3 p.m., there was a Spike Day here at LMS, which is, well, has different activities and things done once a month, I believe, at the school. And your project sort of took center stage, and you had different stations, I believe, for the kids or the different grades to go to. Tell me about these different stations and what they did and that kind of thing.
So we had a lot of people come in from the community, such as PACA, Seal of Valley Fitness, Pretty on Y'all, and some other people to come in and do things such as looking about how caffeine can affect your body and you and your mood. And there was also one that dealt with food webs and how they function. There was also a bracelet making station, which I heard great feedback from, and a yoga station in the basement. And whenever I went in there, it was wonderful. And we also had games in the cafeteria since the weather wasn't so nice to us, because we had originally planned to go outside, but it was a good substitution. And then in our gym, we had some people come in from Steel Valley Fitness to do a high intensity interval training with the students, and I heard great feedback about that as well.
So nutrition and exercise sound like two pretty basic ways to help beat the blues, right?
Absolutely.
Now, let's see. We talked a little bit about Friday, but how long did it take you? How many hours did you put into this project, you think?
It was a lengthy time. It started, I'm going to say, around December, and it's led all the way to now. Throughout winter break, I reached out to admin to get approval for a lot of things, and they also helped with some incredible ideas that we used, or that I used, in the project. And in January is when we really started getting things put into place, saying this is what we're going to do and when, just getting a timeline for everything. February and March is where I came in on the announcements a lot. We had a DJ come in, and where most of the events were held. And on the 27th, like you said, we had our Spike Day activity, which was kind of the thing to wrap everything up.
Now, I know a project like this, when we tackle big things, it's not just one person, it's always a lot of people involved. So who would you like to give a shout out to and some of the folks who helped you with this?
Well, I would like to give a shout out to our local fitness station, Steel Valley Fitness, as well as PACA, Pretty on Y'all, and
Downtown Studios?
Downtown Studios, yes, thank you. I want to give a shout out to all of them, as well as everybody else who came in to help with the ideas for the projects and volunteer for Spike Day, as well as my advisor, Mrs. Burns.
You talked about hearing some really good things, some feedback. What type of feedback have you heard from either students or teachers or people in the community? What kind of feedback have you gotten about Beat the Winter Blues?
I've got a lot of great feedback from students. They expressed to me personally how much they loved when the DJ came in to play music. People literally got up and started line dancing. It was wonderful. I also got a lot of positive feedback from being on the announcements by our secretary, Mrs. Cubbage, which was wonderful. And Spike Day, there was a lot of things like, oh, I loved this station, or I loved this station in Mrs. Burns' classroom, or in Miss Dumas's classroom. And it was really nice to just get good feedback from students about how this whole project really affected them.
Well, I have to say, I will second the emotion that music is wonderful therapy. I am a big music lover of all kind. depends on what kind of mood I'm in as to what music I listen to. But now you have been successful already in your 3 years of being in FCCLA. Why don't you show off a little something you got last summer there?
So last summer at the National Conference for FCCLA, I presented a website that I created for my chapter here at LMS, and I presented it and I won 3rd place nationally for the FCCLA website. And whenever I was up on that stage and my school was called, it was a feeling I don't even think I'll ever be able to replicate, because it was my first time ever really putting my work out there in a way like that, and it was absolutely fantastic.
I agree. You could never replicate, anytime you have that first experience, but let's hope that you replicate it this summer.
Yes.
And what is it, June maybe? Is that when the conference is?
It's in July this year, yes, at Washington, D.C.
And you're going to enter this in, what kind of a category would you enter it in?
This is a student body project.
Okay.
Since it relates to the category student body, which a lot of people think it's stuff about nutrition or just being fit, but I decided to focus more on the mental side of student body.
Right. That's a very, very important one. And when you go, do we know where the conference is going to be this year?
The state conference is going to be in Virginia Beach, and the national conference this year is going to be in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. We don't have to travel quite as far. I think in the last year or two it was over in maybe California or something. It was.
This past year was in Orlando.
Orlando, Florida. Okay, I knew some of the trips were sometimes quite a ways away, but D.C. will be very close. Now, when you go up and present, do you have to actually go up and do a presentation at the conference?
I have to do a presentation in front of a few judges at state and the national conference.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck. We hope you bring home another red and black plaque for LMS after this summer, and wish you the best of luck. In closing, though, I'm going to just ask you one last final question here. And from the hours that you have spent putting this together and the hours you spent working with community partners about this very serious topic, tell us, what have you learned about it, but more importantly, what would you say to someone out there that might be watching even now that maybe is in a dark place and maybe having some of those dark thoughts?
Well, for me, I learned a lot more about how the 3 categories, music, mindfulness, and movement, can really affect your body, your mind, your mood. And it was like, I knew that it did to some extent, but really researching it for the announcements and activities, it was so much more than I had originally thought. And for advice to somebody who may be struggling with mental health or something going on in their life, something that my mother has always told me is, what you put out into the world is what you get back. And really, for me, that means if you say you're going to do amazing things, or this is going to be a great day, or any positive thing to yourself, it will happen. Because if you are in a negative mindset where you really just don't care and you put yourself down all the time, those things are going to end up becoming true. And the same for if you're more positive and you're looking up for the great things that will come in your life eventually.
Kind of give me goosebumps when you say that here. I'm going to clean my glasses here for a second. No, that is absolutely wonderful. I think the work you did with this project and what you're doing through FCCLA is absolutely wonderful. I hope you continue with the organization through high school. I wish you the best of luck in both Virginia Beach for the state conference and in D.C. for the national conference. Yes. Harmony, thank you so much for being with us today. And that's it for episode 111 here today. We hope you've learned a little bit, maybe something that helped you, or maybe something that you learned that may help someone you know. Again, we want to say, if you know someone who's struggling out there, please remember 988. 988 is the line for the suicide hotline. And you may see some signs around town that PACA has put out about that, and please remember that. And we wish you all the best in trying to help those who may be may be struggling. Again, that's it for episode 111. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Page Valley News. We want to say thank you to Eleanor Arrington for all of her work behind the camera and in the editing room this week. And as we end each and every episode, make sure you head down to the Page County Animal Shelter and help one of our furry friends find a forever home. For Harmony Housden, I'm Randy Arrington from Luray Middle School saying until next week, enjoy that Page Valley living.